Could I get whatever I wanted? Or am I being delulu? Hello and welcome to Alt With Lella. I am your lovely host, Layla, a poet, an Afro-feminist, life coach, and an artist. Really, what I am is a magician. And Alt With Lella is a lifestyle podcast that offers you alternative ways of feeling, thinking, and living outside of societal conditioning from an Afro-feminist perspective. Alt With Lella mainly serves as a prompt to the listener to rethink and reflect on what we accept as norm, culture, and heritage. Make sure to click the subscribe button to get notified about new episodes. You can also find Alt With Lella on Instagram and TikTok as Alt With Lella. And if you're interested, you can find my personal accounts at A Lifetime With Layla on both of these platforms. While you're at it, you can check out my website at lifetimewithlayla.com to access the services I provide. Thank you and enjoy. Hello and welcome to Alt With Layla's third episode. I am super happy to have you here and thank you so much for tuning in. As you can tell by the title, it's called A is for Agency, not Apple. Yeah. And like I said in the past couple of episodes, I want to use this first season of Alt With Layla to kind of give my listeners my background and give you an idea of like what shaped me as a young girl and why I am the way I am today. So let's get into A's for Agency. Agency is one of my core values, and it has. When I was a child, I didn't feel like I had agency, but I knew that it was there. But I never really I never learned how to exercise my agency, or didn't think it was possible for me to exercise my agency until like in high school, which basically this whole episode is about how I found my agency or how I kind of tapped into my power, really. When I was a child, I used to throw a lot of temper tantrums. Now looking back, could have been like neurodivergent meltdowns, but I don't really care to identify that right at this moment. And the reason that I used to have a lot of meltdowns was because I never really understood no. No did not sit well with me because I think ultimately one of the biggest fails of adults and like the relationship that they have with children is that they don't really explain anything to children. I feel like if people sat me down when I was younger and explained to me that the reason that they're saying no is because of this, and that, I would have been capable to understand, and I wouldn't have felt like I am a victim of my circumstances instead, you know? And I think that's really important to really highlight because kids, at least you can give them the benefit of the doubt of understanding something instead of just saying, because I said so. Like, who the hell do you think you are, actually? And one of the significant memories I have of being a child or my childhood is like the bane of my existence was feeling like no one taking me seriously. I remember really struggling with no one taking me seriously because one of the things that I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or anything, but I felt like I have lived so many lives, and I was just like almost like trapped in a child's body, and no one is actually listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Like it was I felt gaslit. I think ultimately that's the feeling. So basically, I threw a lot of temper tantrums and uh, lost my marbles and my shit. So yeah, I threw a lot of temper tantrums, and like not recently, but I read sometime that the most angry people are like the most optimistic people because they think they just go around thinking that everything is gonna work out. If it doesn't, then they're like super frustrated at what is, you know? And I kind of low-key identify with that because I am extremely optimistic, and I don't think I don't think things won't work out for me. And those are the things that really pissed me off when I was a child, when I received no or like a resistance. It was like, why not me? Why won't it work out? Why not? Why not? That was really one of the struggles that I had, because I knew I could get what I want. And that was just an inner knowing that I always had. And then what I was met with was not affirming that reality. So that's why I said gaslit, because I know that I can get what I want, but y'all are pretending as if that I can't, and y'all are playing with me ultimately. I understood that I didn't have so much agency, but agency and enforcing boundaries are, I think, two different things. I did well enforcing my boundaries as a child, but that was in like, because that was like a non-negotiable. That's why. And you know what else I want to add about like giving reason to your children or to your kids is that I think ultimately giving reason to somebody you love and care about and cherish is a compassionate act. At the end of the day, you don't owe anyone an explanation, but it is compassionate and kind to be reasonable and to explain why things are not working out, or why this can't be the way that that person wanted, especially in a parent-child context. Obviously, that's what I'm talking about. And when I was in school, like, I was a big loner. Yeah, I spent a lot of time alone intentionally because I really didn't like being in a group dynamic, because whenever I was in groups, I'm sure you're aware of this, there's like a leader of the group that I have huge resistance to, because one thing that about a group setting is that, and there are these leaders, right? And then these leaders, this entire group kind of follows the whim of that group leader or something, and I was not about it. I was not ready to give up the very little agency that I had left to kind of conform to a group or a group collective mindset. I spent a lot of time alone, and then when I changed schools, like I mentioned the past couple of episodes, I went to an old girls school out in like junior high, and that was the first time I actually ever remember feeling lonely, and ever feeling like I wanted to make friends. And I did make friends eventually, obviously, and it was nice, it was lovely, but it also has a lot to do with, I think, uh, being a teenager, because I need to make another podcast episode about my period, and because when I started having a period, a lot of things changed in my body, and like I'm just like, I recently made sense of those experiences. Like, I remember the first time I've ever felt dread in my body and my heart was when I was 13, 14. And then also I started having like anxiety or like feeling lonely, or, and then also the first time ever that I felt like, okay, yeah, I am mentally struggling and I'm depressed is when I was like 14 years old in ninth grade. Basically, that's 17 years ago now. I remember that was a time when I really, really, really had it. I was very. That was the peak of my lack of agency that I felt. I felt like a loser, or like a lifeless loser, because I just felt like I don't have a say in what goes on in my life. I don't have a say in what happens or the choices that I make. I'm just being subject to life. That's how it felt like, and I felt so disempowered. It was a huge, huge low for me. And I think ultimately what I've noticed about that time looking back is that we inherit limitations that because when we're born into this world, we are born free, right? And then we walk into a world that is not ours. We walk into a world that is already built, and then we inherit, among other things, obviously, we inherit our parents or our guardians' limitations without our choice. And the reason I say this is because whenever we want to say or do something, because that if there's one thing about me, I'm a nonconformist, right? So whenever I used to say or ask for anything that I felt like in my reality, because it didn't have that limit, those specific limitations, I could get it, and I asked for it, but I didn't get it, and that was like invalidating me in the knowledge, in the truest essence that I feel, the knowledge that I had of like, if I want something, I can get it. That was because I felt deserving. I'm actually getting emotional because when you take time to put words into the experiences or the feelings that you've had as a child, it becomes apparent that you've been knew that. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I knew that I was deserving. I knew that what I asked for is not absurd. And so through time and through all the no's that you got not and through time and through all the no's that you got with no explanation or no reasoning, aka no compassion, also, you kind of inherit those limitations. You realize, oh, okay, this is how the world works. Despite how I feel, despite the knowledge that I have deep in my heart and in my soul and in my being, that is wrong. And then that's how you take that as truth. And then that was the embodiment of that limitation peaked basically when I was in ninth grade, and I had a time. And you know what, I said, like, I have so much respect for my young self, because there was, sidebar by the way, there was this a prompt thing where they're like, oh, what if you could go and hug you, what if your old, like, adult self now could go and hug your young self or teenage self? And then another prompt came up that kind of switch things a little bit to like give you a shift in perspective. It was like, what if actually your young self came and gave you a hug instead? And I was like, because a lot of the times we look back to our younger selves and be like, oh my God, poor you, you're so lost, or like this and that. But in reality, they were the real MVPs. Yeah. Because to do what they did with under parents, right? Which means not having a lot of agency or say or a lot of choices, um, and you to still do the things that we did then and push through. I have a lot of respect for my young self, and I think it's important to maybe reflect on that. Yeah. So what I was saying was that the embodiment of that inherited limitation peaked when I was in ninth grade. And basically what triggered it was a lot of different things, because there's so many different heartbreaks you go through. Like, I was just talking to my friend the other day about the variety of heartbreaks. It's each heartbreak is so different than the rest, you know? Anyway, I digress. But what I wanted to say was it happened due to very similar reasons of denied request with no legitimate or tangible reason that was shared with me. Basically, disregard. That's how I would, yeah, disregard to how some decisions actually affect me, or collective decisions that have been made that affect me. And you know what? That's exactly why I don't like to be in a group. Yeah, I lose my voice, and I would hate for that to happen. And so, like, one of the reason I even said that I'm so proud, or like I have a lot of respect for my younger self, was because when I was in ninth grade, I knew that I was like, okay, I'm troubled. Yeah, I need to address this. Yeah. And so I remember going to my mom and being like, hey mom, I think I need to see a therapist. Can you imagine? 14-year-old Layla, 17 years ago in 2007, being like, I am not well. I need to seek help. Let me find it. If that's not bad B behavior, I don't know what is, to be honest, because I really said, I'm having a problem and I will fix it. That's what I said. So basically, but unfortunately though, I did not get the help that I needed. or sought because healthcare is a privilege. First of all, let's get that clear. And then mental health care is some next level shit, especially 17 years ago in Ethiopia. There was barely any awareness about mental health in Ethiopia. Mental health is basically being a spoiled brat, basically. Or at least that was how it was when I grew up. There's a lot of shame that comes with mental health issues, and there's a lot of discrimination and stigma. And not only that, there's a lot of lack of knowledge and lack of awareness when it comes to mental health issues. So if you even complain about being sad or depressed, most parents would be like, what do you have to complain about? You ate, you drank, you go to school, you have a roof over your head. Like, ma'am, I need you to be sober. Well, that's basically the usual interaction whenever you exhibited symptoms. Anyway, I didn't get the help that I needed, but what I did get was, I mean, not in like substitute of that, but I just happened to get The Secret, the book. And I'm just gonna say disclaimer here, I'm not here to promote The Secret or the author or the law of attraction. I am simply here to just share with you my journey and how this book has completely and utterly shifted my life and my perspective. So before we get into how it's changed my life, I just kind of want to share with you a little summary about the book, okay? So The Secret by Rhonda Byron, I want to say. Never learned to pronounce the name because it's a power move. Yeah. Anyway, it's a self-help book that explores the concept of the law of attraction, which suggests that positive or negative thoughts can bring corresponding experiences into a person's life. The book emphasizes the power of positive thinking, visualization, and gratitude as key tools for manifesting desires and achieving personal goals. Now, I just want to be really clear that I know that there's a lot of, skepticism, right? There's a lot of skepticism when it comes to this book. You can have your skepticism, but what I really want to, I want to explain how this book changed my life. Because ultimately, when you really break it down, like to the basics, is that what it told me is that I can bend reality to my will. That's what the book taught me. The book taught me that I have actually a say in what goes on in my heart, in my mind, and in my body. Like, I have agency within this body, within this limitation, right? Because the body is the limitation. So what I mean by bending reality to my will is my reality is also highly, highly related to the experiences that I have, right? And what this book gave me is that it made me realize that actually I can have a good experience. I can have a good time because, like I said, let's kind of break it down to the basics, right? So if I'm sitting here having negative thought after negative thought, guess who's having a bad time? Me. Yeah, that's me. And if I'm sitting here having a positive thought, or not a self-deprecating thought, or not a self-destructive thought, guess who's having a better time? Me. Yeah. And that's what it gave me. Like, your reality is tied to your experiences, and your experiences is dictated by how you choose to feel and how you choose to think on the daily. It made me realize that despite whatever is happening in my life, I still have agency. I still have the ability to respond to what is taking place in my life and not just take it. It affirmed me in ways that I have been waiting to be affirmed all my life since I was a child. And you know what else? It also talks about visualization, right? And one of the things that, like I said earlier, I'm a big nonconformist. I do not conform. So one of the ways that I remember as a teenager even is, there's a lot of like inequality of the sexes here in Ethiopia, obviously. I've, shared that with you in the past couple of episodes. But what I did want to say was, there's a lot of policing on what women should wear, what they should say, how they should speak. And I remember being like, I'm not gonna conform. I'm gonna say what I want and wear what I want. And that And like later in life, I'm realizing this, that there is an external fight and then there's an internal fight. The external fight is being policed externally by how you look and what you say and how you act. But the internal policing is the worst type of policing, because the internal police, there is no police, just you doing their job for them. What do you mean by that? I'll elaborate. So one of the things that I realized is that our mind is the only place that is free. Your visualization, your imagination is the only place that you're actually, in fact, free of being policed, right? So tell me why. Tell me why that even as you sit at home alone, you can't, maybe you can't believe, right, that you can be a bajillionaire, right? But you can sit and imagine it. But we don't even dare to dream our wildest dreams, because we take the limitations of the physical external world and shove it into our imagination. And then our imagination exists in this by the same rules of the physical world, which is actually not the case. Our imagination and our mind does not abide by the physical rules, right, that we have. And so actually the real colonization and the real oppression takes place in the mind. And to free your mind is to find liberation. And to dare to dream is to find liberation. And that is what it did for me. It made me realize that actually I'm inside this body, inside this mind, inside this heart, we're gonna have a good time. That's like, it was a paradigm shift. I was like, I have autonomy. I have autonomy over the thoughts that are taking place in my mind. I have autonomy over my body and how it feels inside. And I have autonomy over my heart and how much space there is and who I invite inside of it and how my heart is, the well-being, right? And that's all the girl needed. That was all the magic I needed to kind of bend reality to my will. I'm literally making reality my bitch. Yeah, and I was only 14. I just want to say also and clarify that I am not a fan or talking about toxic positivity, because I am really not about, despite being like an optimist, like the biggest optimist you'll know, I am not a supporter, or I'm not positive in a toxic way. There's a quote that talks about feeling a negative emotion is a positive experience. And I think that, let me give you an example. The other day, I was really, really mad. I got really pissed off, and then I was like, why am I so mad? I got so frustrated about being mad, and I got mad that I was mad. And then I was like, I just couldn't, like, I was like, I don't know, fuming a little bit. And then like I had a water bottle with me and I just kind of smacked it around, and then I kind of felt better. Not promoting violence, but I support a rage room. So rage in a safe space, or like rage safely or something. I don't know. But yeah, and then I beat the bottle around, and I just kind of felt better. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel better. And I realized that the main issue that I had was not the negative emotion, not the anger itself, but me policing how I should be feeling in that moment, how I should not be angry. That got me all worked up. And what I noticed is that which is why I shared the quote with you about feeling a negative emotion as a positive experience. More often than not, it's not the feeling of the negative emotion that feels so bad, but the suppressing and the policing of yourself. That sucks. So next time you're feeling some type of way, I invite you to express it. I invite you to feel the feelings instead of telling yourself you shouldn't be feeling this way, or this circumstance or situation should not elicit this type of feeling. Because why are you policing yourself? You already feel the way that you feel. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, better out than in. So yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of toxic positivity. I am all for experiencing the full spectrum of your emotional body. But at the same time, feeling an emotion is not technically doing anything about it. It's just being aware that it's in your body, being aware of it. That's what it is. That's what feeling and emotion is about, is just acknowledging that it exists in your body and that you are feeling the way that you're feeling right now with no judgment. After after me finding my agency and finding the power that I have, which is the power of my outlook or the power of my perspective, everything changed in my life. I've had significant paradigm shifts in my life that I will share with you as we go through this podcast. But one of the significant, essential, first ever paradigm shifts or shifts in mentality and mind shifts that I experienced was when I was 14 years old, and when I read The Secret, and it gave me power that I knew that I had. Like I knew I was right. I was so vindicated, actually, and it really helped me bring about the next my 20s was as a result of that experience, or my years after that, the years after high school, and the life that I had after, basically the life that I had after that shift is due, or the quality of the life that I had after that was because of that experience. That power or that realization has only enhanced as the years go by, and I will obviously share that with you in the later episodes. But these are the points of my life that actually shaped me as a girl and have kind of paved the way for adult Layla to Layla, basically. And since now it's a thing, I'm gonna also share with you a poem that I wrote that pertains to this matter, agency, and I will read it right now. Again, my poetry doesn't really have a title, not because I struggle with it, just because I don't see the point, and when I do, there is. So let's get into it. Do you ever feel like you're drowning? Like you can't cope anymore? Like you can't aspire for more? For more than just survival? When you do, you're met with an upheaval. It's impossible for you, your mind tells you. How in the world will it work out? Take a moment and think it out. You can't make ends meet. The ends will forever be apart. With you stuck in the middle, arms outstretched, holding the ends, using all your strength, losing your footing and your weight. Like you're drowning in your own tears, the ones you hold back because you didn't want to give in. Things won't work out for you because you are average. And if you ever thought otherwise, it was only a glitch. Years of suppressing, catching up to you in a matter of seconds. How do I escape centuries of this limited mindset? To wish you were never born is to curse another innocent soul. And see. And because Alt With Lella serves as a prop to the listener, I invite you to unpack in what ways you police your imagination and you police your thoughts and you police your mind. And I also invite you to explore how wild you let your imaginations run. Because another thing that I'll say regarding imagination is the word manifest. And the word manifest actually means to see something clearly in your mind, or to see something clearly. And you can see anything clearly in your mind. And the word manifest actually is not bringing something pulling something out of thin air into the physical realm. It's not like that. It's to first be able to see something so clearly in your mind. And before you bring anything about to the physical world, you have to see it clearly in your mind. And I also invite you to explore, what have you really thought clearly in your mind about, and how has that come about in your life, or how has it not come about in your life? How has manifesting in the actual meaning of the word, helped you bring about things that you want in your life? Another thing that I would invite you to explore is the stories that you tell yourself and the stories that you share, or the narrative that you have about your life. Does it take your power away, or does it give you power, or does it empower you? Because that's fundamental, because every story that you say and that you write and that you narrate about yourself should empower you. It should not be a story that disempowers you, because what the hell? Are you not writing it after all? All right. Thank you so much for listening. And I think that's enough yapping for the third episode of Alt With Layla. A is for agency. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You can also find Alt With Layla on Instagram and TikTok as Alt With Layla. And if you're interested, you can find my personal account at A Lifetime with Layla on both of these platforms. While you're at it, you can check out my website, altwithlayla.com, to access the services I provide. Thank you for listening, and goodbye until next time.